The Eels defeat the Dragons 23. Sorry, the Dargans. The Eels defeat the Dargans 23-22. Really, really important win for the Eels. Like, so important with the Dragons. I know I was quite harsh on them a few weeks ago, but this is what I was kind of worried about. Is like, just their halves at the moment. They just, when they need to just make that extra play to finish a game off or to ice a game, they're just not doing it, in my opinion, especially against a team like the Eels. The Dragons really should have won this one. Gutho could not have done more for him. He was outstanding at the back there. I think Flano will be, like, disappointed is probably too light of a word. I think he'll be quite pissed off with the way this all unfoiled.
Yeah, sometimes when you're a halfback, you look at the 23-22 and it's easy to say they didn't ice it at the end. For me, 2 times this year the Dragons haven't iced it when they've been in front by 12. One was against South Sydney. They didn't really play to what the situation was needed. And then again on the weekend they led by 12 and didn't really put the foot down. We spoke about the Sharks taking the 2. If you're up by 12, going up by 13 changes the whole mindset of the other team. And even just kicking early, like they tried to stay and just think, all right, we're going to be good at 22-14 or 22-12, whatever it was. They were waiting for time to run out the Dragons instead of keep the foot on the throat and keep going for it. And that's what happens if you do that long enough. Parramatta finished over the top of them basically because they kept playing. I felt like St George stopped a little bit.
Well, there are so many superstars in our game, even if it's the team on the bottom of the table, where you can't just conserve that lead and just expect to get home, based on your defence. Like, no matter who it is, someone will make you pay for it. And in this instance, it was Isaiah Iongi, who was outstanding in this game.
Yep.
And again, another one that the Dragons will be ruining losing this one, and it just feels like one of them games where back end of the year, if they miss by 2, you're going to look back at this one, but they let it slip.
And that's where I think Flano's going to be so frustrated, because it's like there's probably 2 or 3 games so far this year the Dragons should have won. And then they go out against the Storm and defend one of the best defensive efforts I've ever seen in my life. And Flano must just be sitting there going, boys, like, we get up against the Melbourne Storm and we hold them to 8 points, but we're getting 23 put on us by Eels who haven't won a game yet. Like, where's the consistency? He's just really struggled to find that consistency with the Dragons this year. And I know it sucks singling a person out, but just the kick out in the full by Ilias is just like, you just got to get that inside.
Yeah.
You just got to. I know it sucks and it's not the only reason they lost. I'm not saying he's the only reason, but geez, you just can't afford to be doing that. So, I mean, similar-ish to the Dom Young situation.
Yeah,
you just got to nail that kick.
Great pressure from Ryley Smith, though, to be able to do that after playing your first starting game. Come on.
No, so I thought he started 2. He actually got replaced at the last minute. He ended up playing 66 minutes, I think, straight around that.
They played
Hopgood.
They played Hopgood at 9.
I made that mistake too.
It was listed as Guymer starting at 9, but Hopgood played 9 until Smith came on.
This is why you got to listen to Take the 2. It was tipped a couple of weeks ago that's what they should do. Start Ryley Smith and then give him a break with Hopgood at 9.
Jason Ryle's big fan of the podcast.
Big fan.
He must be, yeah. I'm free, Rylesy. I'm looking to get back into coaching. The Dragons, they lost by 1 point against South Sydney. They lose by 1 point here. These are the games you should win, especially when you held comfortable leads in both of those. And the kick out on the full at the end magnifies everything for the rest of the game. But it's their last 20 minutes and their game management, both sides, where the kick was set up, all that kind of stuff. And it puts pressure on them now going into Anzac Day in a couple of weeks. That's a big game this week. They got Titans at home. That's the other thing. Sorry, boys. They've had 5 out of their first 7 games are at home. So they're going to have to go on the road. I think like Manly as well, Broncos, they've all got home games. Well, no different for the Broncos. They play at home every week.
Here we bloody go.
Roll out the red car before.
But they've got to go on the road to some tough environments soon and try and get back some of these wins.
And that's where I go, Gutho can only steer the ship so much from fullback. Like, at some point in that last 20, your halves, whether it's Ilias, whether it's Flanagan, they just got to find the right play to close the game out.
It's all of them, though. Like, Cook's at 9.
Yeah, for sure. You
had Jacob Little, who's an experienced 9. You've got Gutho at the back. So it's not just the 7 and 6.
I know, but I just look at Gutho. I think he could not have done more in that game. And so I look to the 6 and 7. I just didn't think that in the last 20, I look at least one of them to step up and go, this is the play that needs to happen. These 2 games I felt like they haven't in the last 20.
I think they should kick early more.
Kick early more?
If you're going to back your defence, I don't think, with Timmy, like, 5, 6, 7 years ago, you could back your defence and win a game and go in and go, hey, boys, let's keep them to 14. That's been thrown out the window this year.
Yeah, with the
Melbourne conceded 24 yesterday. Brisbane conceded 24. Yep. Penrith has conceded 30 a week. It's not going to be one of those years where the top defensive side is under 16 points.
Even the Dogs' first couple of games, I know they've been good recently, but their first couple of games, they conceded like 22 to the Dragons or something along those lines.
The average has gone up the last 10 years. It's probably a good yarn for me and Roo, the Nuffy pod, the deep stuff. But the average is like 12, 13 points. When we're playing now, it's crept up. I think it was 17 points for one of the Panthers titles, which is 3 tries.
It's crazy. Great. Whereas back in the day when the wrestler was here, you could truly like park the bus in soccer terms. Like you could seriously like slow the game down so much that a 10-0 win or a 10-4 win could happen.
You could grind it out.
You couldn't do it. You can't do it these days.
Yeah, your Dragons were a great example of that, mate. With the long kicking game, you grind it out, you slow it down, you're in the right, then you just kick bloody long and say, let's defend it. You just can't do it these days.
I'm with you, though. I'm a big fan of the early kick because you get to dictate with your defence then. Like you attack with your defence when you kick early because you're dictating the momentum of the... Because like if you're kicking on the third or the fourth, but let's just say the third at times early... the opposing team's not ready for that. Like the wingers probably aren't dropping back. The centres usually aren't back onto the edge there. The forwards, they're fatigued because they've just taken 2 carries. So I don't mind that shout of kicking early because it does seem like the Dragons are going to go, look, let's defend our way to a lot of these victories.
But if you do it at 20-8 and you're up by 12 and you kick early, the message it sends to Parramatta at that stage is completely different to when you do it at 20-all.
Yeah.
And you're just trying to get out of your end.
Yeah.
And they haven't got that at the moment, which is why... top of the show, the experienced halves are in demand because Terry Evans steps up and does that.
We'll stick with the Dragons, then we'll get to the Eels. Outstanding win. But with the Dragons, we've spoken about it a little bit, but Gutho was absolutely phenomenal. It has been phenomenal since coming to the club. And what I love about that is, is Gutho in the Teddy, the Tommy Turbo, Latrell kind of bracket? Probably not. However, what I've loved about him going to a new club, it's given fans an opportunity to show. Sometimes when you're at a club for like 10 years or whatever he was at the Eels, you get used to what he brings. And what I love about him and the Dragons is Dragons fans are starting to see why the Eels fans loved Gutho because, he's not going to throw the crazy... I mean, he will throw match winners, he's done it before, but he's not going to be in Tommy Turbo at his best category. However... he does so many intangibles, and he's all effort, Gutho. I thought he was outstanding on the weekend.
I think he actually leads try assists in the NRL at the moment. So he's ball playing. He's just an out-and-out competitor. I think a little bit less focus on what their style is and just follow Gutho.
Yeah.
A couple of times, that try he gets into dummy half. Both tries he went into dummy half and just bars his way over.
Just competing.
That's just competing.
Yeah,
It's just playing footy. Yeah. And no one would be hurting more in that organisation than Gutho and probably Flano because they know they've had 2 wins that they should have had this year. I've loved the addition of Clint Gutherson. I think it's actually helped Tyrell Sloan. Seeing him back of the field now is helping him out. But the storyline is that they lost another golden or tight game, which is huge. Like in a competition that's so tight, you just can't lose these games, and they've lost 2 of them in a space of 3 weeks. Yeah,
well, you look at Gutho, and he was brilliant at Parramatta for so many years, but he was playing with one of the best halves, if not the best halves combination in the game in Moses and Brown. He comes to the Dragons, where Ilias and Flano, they do a job, they're very serviceable, it's great, but it's given Gutho a chance to shine. He's become the main man, hasn't he? And he's taken it with both hands, and I said the 2 tries he scored, just both grit, determination, and just competing, which is what Gutho does. And, you have a bloke come to your club at the back end of his career and just to see the way he celebrates tries and assists and big moments, he just oozes passion, doesn't he? And that, when you're trying to, build a club up and return to sort of finals footy and big games, it's all around culture and blokes who want to play for the jersey, and Gutho does it, argue as much as anyone in the game. Yeah, and I think it's been a tough start for the Dragons, and sometimes you can dwell on all the negatives, but a real positive is that you've nailed your recruitment in Gutho. He's really delivering because there were some people that thought that wasn't a good signing. There were some people that thought, he's past it, this, that, and the next thing. He seems to be thriving. If anything, he's at his best.
The fans are loving him as well. How good with the Dragons fans doing the Gutherson?
Oh, yeah, and you saw the Eels fans blowing up.
Yeah.
Well.
As sports bet, we're proud supporters of those having a crack this year, and those blokes certainly having a crack at that Eels fan. I think it all ended happily enough, but he was certainly pretty pissed off for a moment.
Mate, those fans do. That's what I love. See, that kind of banter.
That's footy.
That's footy.
So good.
That you saw the Dragons boys doing the Gutherson. That's great. That's so good. So like that's a real positive for the Dragons is that he's going so well. Some more positives as well. I think Toby Couchman is just going from strength to strength. Like I know Guru was just couldn't stop talking about how good the Couchman brothers were, and I was like, yeah, they look good, but Guru, I think you might be getting a bit ahead of yourself. But once again, the Guru nails it. Couchman, something about him. He's a bloody good player.
Yeah, they're super fit. He's found his role within the team. I think the last couple of years he was under Russ Aiken and they've tried him in the back row. They've tried him starting. They've tried him off the bench, but he seems to have settled into that. Another guy is Dylan Egan. He's had some big raps on him. Sort of reminds me of Liam Martin a little bit. Not as big, but
just that terrier kind of stuff.
Just a terrier on an edge and does a job. They've got some other young forwards as well. They're going to be putting some pressure on. Coming forward, I think they've got another young guy, Jacob Hawangar, who could play on an edge. He's an absolute tank.
Okay.
Who might get a chance later in the year. Their reserve grade team's going really well, but the Couchman brothers, unfortunately, Ryan's out with an ACL, but Toby's been fantastic for him.
Just some key numbers I'm looking at, and granted, I understand they could be coming from high balls and that, but just in their back line, so Sloan 3 errors, Gutho 1, Moses Sully 0, Valent Holmes 3, Tui Pilotu 2. So you're looking at what, 5, 8, 9 errors in your back line. It's just too much. You can't let your forwards down like that. Like your forwards work their absolute backsides off. Like granted, I know some of them would have been come from high balls, so they're not all errors are equal. But when it's 9, it's just a bit too much in my opinion.
And that's contributing to the halves stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because if you had 9 errors and you put in that kick out in the full in a crucial space at the end of the game, that's putting pressure on a lot of those results as well.
The good story out of those errors, though, is the one bloke who didn't have any. If you had said 2 or 3 years ago, here's the back line, who do you reckon would have had a couple of errors in him?
Yeah.
Probably be Moses Sully, but he's been one of the most consistent centres, in the last 12 months for sure. Can't fault him for his effort. He was great again on the weekend, I thought.
I'm a sucker for just a roaming centre or wing or whatever it is, Kempy, and I love seeing Tyrell Sloan with all this upside and potential. The Tui Pilotu try, they're shaped for that. Holy shit, they're in sync. Their timing and everything, the coaching for that is brilliant.
Yeah, their set plays are great. I really do appreciate it.
And as a part of that as well, which I did not see coming, Sloan came from the other side of the field and just it was a bit of a weird, unique shape, but just hung on the inside of Gutho, who I think threw the final ball for the Tui Pilotu try. But yeah, the movements there are so good.
Yeah, I think that Flano, he deserves massive rap. His set plays, I believe they're some of the best in the competition. And I know he has to rely on that to a degree because he has 2 very similar 6s and 7 that aren't necessarily, the most, have the most finesse. They're both kind of almost game managers to a degree. But their set plays are really good.
That's
really
Ryan
good.
Carr. That's
That's
Shane Flanagan, obviously the head coach, but Ryan Carr's the attacking coach.
Okay, Ryan Carr.
So
right.
he's having worked with Carr and know him really well. He's a really smart guy.
Yeah, okay.
Been around as a player and he's been overseas and coached. Helped Steve Price over there, but he's super smart in some of those set pieces, and that's why I agree. Some of their set pieces are really, really good. It's about transforming that and not having to go to a set start all the time.
Which they, that's the thing. Yes, it hasn't been the best start, but they're not that far off.
But there's 4 teams that aren't that far off.
It's true.
So you can't all be that
not far off. Yeah,
there has to be some games there where
you just get it done.
They should have won.
Yep. I'm sure Flano will be into them this week. Now onto the Eels. What I liked about this is this has actually been building. I think this win. I do think the Eels have been getting better and better each week. Have they set the world alight? No, not necessarily. But if you go back and watch the Doggies game, they were there. They were in it. They could have won it. If a few things went their way, they could have won it. Then you go back to the Manly game. That was only in the last 20 or 30 where Manly just ran away with it. There was actually, for most of that game, they were in it. And so what I'm happy for the Eels is that this isn't just a one-off. They've really built into this victory. Does it mean that they're going to make the 8 or anything? I don't think. No, I don't think so. However, it just shows ticker. It shows fight. It shows that it's not like Ryles has already lost a playing group. They're building towards something. It's still quite a ways off, but at least they're building towards it. It's a great win for the club, in my opinion.
Yeah, I was happy for the fullback. He's had a bit of pressure on him the last couple of weeks with how he's performed and some of the plays, but he was in the game, pretty much from the start. winning helps, and it'll snowball that. And Lomax, obviously gets the chocolates at the end. But they've just had some guys that are trying really hard. Ryley Smith starting, I think, has opened a new dynamic for them. It was Dylan Brown's best game for all the shit he's copped. Yep. It's probably time for us to give him a rap. On how he competed and went to the game. But they just tried really, really hard. It wasn't going to be pretty, your first win, but they were able to get the job done. Interesting to see that they go to Darwin this week. I think they would have loved another home game.
Yeah.
Staying at home, another prep. They play the Raiders up there. Sticky would have told the Raiders to pack their jeans and we're going to get on the piss after we win. So they're going to be super excited to get up to Darwin. But I was happy for the Eels for the fullback.
Yeah, I think the Iongi just look so dangerous. Like sometimes you don't even need to watch a player. Sometimes you can watch a player once or twice and go, yeah, they've got it. And I do think Iongi is one of those guys. Every time he got the ball, there was just a sense of anxiety from the defence, a sense of like we have to be on our toes here. And if you can carry that across with building the other stuff, because I think the ball playing he can work on, and if you can keep that electric nature with the ball, but just build your game out so that in 2 or 3 years, all of a sudden you've got that, but you've also added ball playing, you've also had positional play, you've added talking. There's a great future ahead for Iongi.
Yeah, just firstly on the Eels themselves, like a huge win for them under all this pressure, and I think Lomax's tears summed it up for me post-game, where, as you said, Kempy, they're in dire straits the first 2-3 rounds. Oh, God, like, what are we looking at here this season? How bad could it get? But they've built every single game. They've shown vast improvement, and still a long way off where they need to be. But it's early on in this rebuild. But just to see what it meant to Lomax is like one of the key signings this season after that game, and what it meant to these blokes. It shows that they're there. They're playing for Isles. The performance haven't quite been there, but they look like they're up and about. It was so well deserved. And mate, on Iongi, he's been really good this year in a side getting battered. The moment there, late in the game, Gutho makes the line break and he made the one-on-one tackle there. The very next tackle was like on the sideline. He got across, kicking behind the line. He was one who tapped it out or caught it and got rid of it under the post, like potentially saving the game. Those effort areas are just quality, back-to-back plays. We know how good a runner he is. He's having like 21 runs a game, averaging about 182 metres per game. But, you sit there and we spoke about Penrith and look at this big off-season transfer of Iongi and Blaze Talangi. Parramatta right now sitting going, we win this hands down early on.
And they've still got Joash Papali'i or Papali sitting in reserve grade ready to go. I love it. It's a great thing to point out with Iongi. It's that effort play. It's the fact, like a lot of fullbacks, they make the try saver, they stay at marker, they jog across. He immediately got up. What's the next job? And just got after it. And what's exciting for the Eels is he's not the only young player that did that. Go and look at Ryley Smith. If you go to my Instagram, you can see all the times he put kick pressure on. They were literally game-defining kick pressures. He put kick pressure on Bal Holmes, which helped him miss that field goal. He put kick pressure on Ilias when he kicked out in the full. He was the one that passed the ball to Lomax when he actually knocked it over. And then there was also, he forced an error with a tackle earlier on in the game. And from that forced error is actually when the momentum shifted and Eels took... and so you've got two young players in key positions with that kind of mentality. Like, you can build clubs on that.
Well, as I said, they're the two blokes that is obviously the key parts of Jason Ryle's plan and his vision to build this club back to what we know they can be in the glory days. It's number 1 in Iongi and a 9 in Ryley Smith, who's so crafty in and around the ruck. And to see them two stand up under pressure when, they had a poor start to the season, he'd just be thrilled with it.
When was the glory days?
The 80s?
Yeah.
50s? So it's been a while.
They've been rebuilding for 40 years.
They're getting
back to the glory days. I'm thinking...
Oh, come on. There was a period where they were all right.
I said, Para fans, jump in the comments, like, line speed me. Hello. I'm just saying. The way he's talking about it, it'd be like Hammy goes, I just can't wait to get back to the glory days of 05. Like,
a simpler time.
Yeah, you can't just... Glory days are for Penrith right now. For everyone else, it's not glory days.
I said they're trying.
And it's like before when you said we about the Raiders, you didn't even tip them last week.
Oh, that's a great point.
You said, we feel like we're doing this. I'm like, wait. Make up your mind.
Yeah, that's true.
You're on the lime milk or you're not.
Is Guru back next week?
I just wanted to clarify that the glory days were 80s. Not 10 weeks ago or 2 years ago.
This bloke reckons he wasn't a short halfback.
Oh, that's personal, Timmy. Wow.
Probably didn't have me as super coach or something.
Would have cost me a head-to-head title.
Yeah, probably.
All righty, that's great stuff. That's great stuff. That gets me going. In regards to some other boys that played really well, I want to give a shout to Junior Polo.
Yep.
I thought he was outstanding. A lot of pressure on him too. He's getting a little bit older. I think he's around 30 years old, 31 years old now, Junior. He's been tasked with this rebuild essentially as the captain, and he's without Mitchell Moses. And I just think that in an important game where Junior Polo is in a situation in his career where he could probably coast. He's achieved everything. He's essentially everything. Obviously not a premiership win, but he's played Origin. He's played for his country. He's played in a grand final. He's done it all. But I admired the fact that he's still just ripping and tearing, doing his best to just lift this club back to where he's the 80s.
Yeah. There's two older guys. It's Papali'i down in Canberra and also Bilo at Para. Those guys have essentially gone away, changed their body styles and come back and been able to play big minutes. So, Riles and Ricky know that the game's getting faster. Junior's dropped all that weight. Plus, he's still got a bit to play for. I know he's achieved everything, but he's still got a bit to play for. He's got the World Cup coming up next year, Samoa, and you've got Tino, Terrell.
It's a great point,
It's a great team that he and Jerome Luai are the captains of at the moment, so it'd be interesting to see where that all ends up for Samoa and the men's side. But he's been tasked with it. I think he's accepted it, and he's running with it. He's playing really well at the moment.
And I thought his journey as 10 years ago, Junior he's a quite soft spoken person, a legend, absolute legend of a bloke. But I guess 10 years ago, would you have imagined him as a person that would be in press conferences and leading the boys the way he is? And I just think it's a really good journey.
Reining his coach in from giving away their game plan.
Exactly. There you go.
Outstanding from him. Yeah.
He came and did a jersey presentation for Two Samoa last year, and when he spoke, the room was dead silent. He's even in press conferences now, he's someone that you want to listen to, and I reckon you're right. He's matured into that role, and understands it.
As well. When we were coming through, a lot of the Polynesians culturally just didn't put themselves forward like that, just because they just weren't brought up with the confidence to go, I want to say how I feel. And I think Junior probably did come through that generation, and as I said, the growth that he's shown to be able to. No, I'm confident in the way I talk, and I believe in my opinion, it has merit. I just think it's a really good story. And it's changing massively. The young Polynesians coming through now, they will speak up and they will give their opinion, which is good. It's good for any squad, in my opinion.
Well, it's having media training as well to be able to go out there and do it and express yourself without embarrassing yourself, not feeling embarrassed. But no, it has been a change with so many Polynesians being so good in the game. You have to learn how to do media, and the younger the better. Yeah,
absolutely. And I think that it's just good for also the younger boys coming through and girls when they see guys like Junior Polo or Luai and really excel. Critter is another one. Just gives them a bit of it shows that they can do it too. So a really good journey for Junior Polo. Who else stood out for you guys for the I will say, if I had to be critical or negative, they still do have not NRL standard errors in their game. And what I mean, even when you play NRL, there's going to be you're going to make errors. You're going to do But Eels, they gave a penalty away the first set, and then they give another penalty away on an offside on a kick chase. Just stuff like that. That's you don't usually see offside on a kick chase in NRL. And so if they can fix that, and that's all part of a rebuild. You're going to have younger players that make those errors, but if they can just fix that, it'll go a long way to helping them win some matches.
Yeah, they've got the monkey off the back. Thankfully, that'll take so much pressure, but. Look, it's still going to be a very long year for them, isn't it? I don't think they're under any disillusions around that one. Straight in, new club, Dylan Walker, didn't set the world alight, but an immediate impact.
Helped heaps.
I can't get a read on this bloke. They were in the glory days 5 minutes ago. Now he's giving him the wooden spoon.
Bloody hell.
I know what you mean, Guru, when you said you warned me coming in here this morning. I know what you mean. I'm just confused.
God. How long? 4 hours left of this podcast.
And again, I hate to be a little bit critical, but when they didn't take the field goal, Hawkins decided to just bomb it.
Bro.
What? I was going, what's happening?
Even Riles. He's the front rower, and he's like, I would have taken the field goal.
Yeah, because they had him moving back too. They weren't actually coming out to full pressure and they were on the back foot. So, it would have been a good opportunity.
Just those little things, that they can fix those little things. It go a long way to winning regular matches.
Sorry, can I say in his defence, the penalty for missing that field goal is so severe that it wasn't right in front.
Yep.
It's not a normal setup. That's what he would have been
I
thinking.
hate that 7 tackle shit.
So do I.
Like, you're basically punishing someone for having a crack at a field goal.
That's to win the game.
Yeah,
You know?
it's like-
So, yeah, I think that's probably what was running through his head is kick
That's
to the
fair.
corner, but he should have, if it was the other side, Zac would have just had a crack.
Had a
from
crack at it.
Everywhere.
Yeah, that's fair. I didn't think of that. That's fair. Anyone else, boys, stand out for you guys in the Eels side?
Pretty well, most of them covered off
Pretty
there.
good, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just trying to think.
Hopgood, some good versatility there, obviously. You know, helping bring Ryley Smith into the game. That's going to be a big one for him going forward. But everyone else pretty much covered off.
Yep, so bloody good win. Bloody good win for the Eels.